Are your dancing shoes on? Are you ready to move? Allow the energy to flow through your body and for you to express it freely. I used to love a bit of drum and bass. I really used to love teaching it, going across the bridges and just being able to freely express yourself as exercise and dance all rolled into one. I'm Jenni Russell. Welcome to Her Health and Happiness right here on UK Health Radio. Who saw that cheeky little sketch that was going around, the little poster saying, "What time does International Women's Day finish? I'm hungry." Or "I'm starving." So cheeky. I hope, like me, you two remember that you are blessed and highly favoured, a magnet for miracles, the solution to someone's problem, and the answer to somebody's prayer. It has been an amazing week. And the interview I did with Dr. Loretta and Carol Urry was amazing. So I'm going to share some of that today. And also I was really blessed to speak to a young guy named Adam Bradford. And I'm asking you guys, I don't know which way you go about getting someone an MBE, but this young man is 30 years of age. And I actually feel like he needs an MBE. When you hear his story that he's going to share, you'll understand why. And then I was on a course at the weekend, Susie Ashworth's Quantum Shift. Now that was absolutely amazing. It really was like an eye-opener into understanding where we are. And it made so much sense because it's true. You know, a shift can happen in an instant, but transformation takes time. When I work with women in the area of their female intimate health, is a transformation, it's a change, but it takes time. So that time requires patience. And it reminds me of the scripture, James 1:2, where it says, "Count it all joy when the many trials come, knowing the testing of your faith produces patience. And let patience have its perfect work, that you emerge complete, lacking nothing." So patience is character building. It's like, who do you become when you are tested, when you are facing a trial? Who do you become? Not how do you become, who do you become? I'm having this conversation with some of my colleagues within the church, trying to really realize, who do we become? And what does we need to do? What does it take for us to get where we need to be? Because faith is a substance of things hoped for, not yet seen. If we spend all our time focusing on the how, we're not moving in faith. I thought I'd just let that bit play out. So what are we going to turn around? What are you going to turn around in your life? Because we can turn things around. We can turn things around so they work for our good, right? Like the Bible says, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purposes. So what are you being called to do? What is it you need to do that's going to make your life become better? That's going to make your life, the life that you want to have. I think what's been really interesting for me is that many times we want the health. We say we want the health. People say, they know the statement, your health is your wealth, your health is your wealth. Oh no, I'm not paying that. It costs too much. But what is the other cost? I've had this conversation with you before. What's the other cost? What's the relational cost? Is it costing you your relationship? Is it almost going to cost you your marriage? The Instagram post I shared yesterday, which I absolutely love. I just heard this man speaking. You see all those reels that come up on your Instagram feed. And this guy said, there are only 4 seasons that we live in. So we're either in a season where when you hurt enough, you have to, or when you see enough, you're inspired to, when you learn enough, you want to, or when you receive enough, you're able to. So my question then is, does your health have to hurt you enough before you decide to do something about it? For most people, the answer is yes. Then if you see enough, you're inspired to, what is it you need to see before you're inspired to do something for yourself? If you learn enough, you want to. What have you not learnt about your health, especially when it comes to your intimate health, before you decide to actually put that knowledge into action? Because you can learn lots of stuff, but the implementation is that's when the magic happens, when you start to implement it. And what do you need to receive before you decide to do it? Many women will say to me, well, I haven't got the money right now. I haven't got this, but I'm going on holiday next week. So I'm going away. I'm going to do this. Or I'm going to buy a new car. So you're receiving, but you're putting it outside of yourself. You're indulging yourself in a holiday. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to St. Lucia next month for a wedding. I'm so excited. You're doing things that allow you to enjoy your life, but you're taking the body that's breaking down, that's not working really well, that may have little niggles and issues, and you're ignoring what you've got. And it becomes a problem. And I remember my neighbour, my mum's neighbour, Ben, God rest his soul, he went away to Mauritius with his wife. They were from Mauritius to see his family for Christmas. But whilst he was out there, I'm not sure if he caught a cold before he got there or whilst he was out there, but he just wanted to get home to be back with his children and just come back to England. He wanted to get back home. And sadly, about 20 minutes into this 8-9 hour flight, he kind of knew something wasn't right. The doctor gave him permission to fly, even though he was not well enough to do so. So sometimes we just think, if I can just get myself home, if I can just get myself to do this. And 20 minutes into the flight, he went into the bathroom and he died on the toilet. It was really sad. And so, of course, you can't turn the plane around, but you're heading back home and his wife's got to sit next to him and he's died on the flight heading home. It was heartbreaking, really, really heartbreaking. What was even more heartbreaking is the son's a postman. And then a few years later, he came back home at 1:30 in the afternoon and the curtains were still shut and his mum had died in her sleep. So I just feel they were robbed both times. They were robbed of being able to say goodbye to both of their parents. And that, I couldn't imagine anything worse. But it's the underlying health challenges and if they're not managed well. But do we need to manage the underlying health challenges or do we need to reverse the underlying health challenges? Because that is the ultimate cost. So when it comes to investing, we started the challenge yesterday. It's so exciting. There's 2 spaces open. And I really wanted to sell those spaces. And, people can come in a couple of days into it because everything's pre-recorded, right? So everything's recorded and you have access to it all the time. But it was really, really powerful to bring these women together and to find out what their challenges are and what they're expecting over the next 60 days. But transformation takes time. So we're going to begin the transformation journey. But at least with this transformation, the tools are there. Yes, we do it for 60 days straight. I've been asked this question, even the last challenge of this one. It's like, we got to do the weekends as well. I'm like, why do the weekends disappear? It's 60 days. Every day you get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, have a shower, do whatever. Every day you do the same routine. But it's within that same routine, that's where your habits are formed. If you're a person that wakes up first thing in the morning, you want to have a cigarette, that's the habit. That's just a natural, that's your default position. If I want you to change that position, then I need to put a different thing in for you to get used to doing every day, not take days off. And that's how we start to form new habits. That's how we start to see transformation. But it starts inside your mind. It has to start in your head. It's same, but different. Every week there is a Monday. Every week there's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The weeks roll. But, they're there. The same. It doesn't change. It's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Frank Day, Julie Day. It just rolls. So we've just got to get into that pattern and just be able to understand that. But anyway, I want to first of all start with, because I said this is like about, her health and happiness is about female intimate health and the whole person. And I want to start with Adam Bradford. Now, I found this story, when I was approached to do this story, I was like, well, it doesn't fall within the ethos of my show. But I did it because, for me, this was about a young man of 21 years of age whose family was plunged into this situation, and he became the husband to his mum. He became like the father to his 2 young brothers. He became the decision maker, all whilst he already had his own challenges. He had his own health challenges, but he suddenly became this person to try and protect his mum from the emotional roller coaster she found herself in. This is about female intimate health and the whole person. When you have someone there who can become by default, who you have brought into the world to nurture and to guide and to watch over until they grow into this wonderful mighty man of valor, who then becomes the person that is going to actually be your savior and make sure that where you've suddenly found yourself by default, you don't drown. And so that's why I've asked for this show. And when you listen to this, I really, really would love to know how we can put this young man forward for an MBE, because I think he deserves one. I really do.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
I want to ask you a question. Have you ever done something for someone that actually was the catapult to allow you to think, if I can do it for one, I can do it for others? This is a conversation I'm going to have with Adam Bradford. Adam paid off his father's, wait for it, £500,000 gambling debt. And now he uses that tool to help others. So Adam, welcome to Her Health and Happiness.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So, Adam, do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm now 30.
Okay. I had to ask that question. I could be a mum. Because I was 60 last November, right? Sassy, 60, 60. So I could be a mum. I just want to say, as a mother with a child who's going to be 29 in June, I'm sending the biggest hug down the radio airwaves to you. Because that is massive, right? Because a lot of 30-year-olds, they're not going to put themselves in that situation. A lot of kids, me and my friends talk about your generation. Some of them are very, very self-centered and have a sense of entitlement, like everything should be given to them. Mm-hmm. But you've done it the other way around. You've given everything out. So, Adam, over to you. Tell us your story.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it is a very bizarre situation, but kind of when I was 21, we had everything taken from us. We thought, myself and my two younger brothers thought that we were living in a fairly straightforward, normal family life. Our dad was an accountant. Our mum had took the decision to stay home and look after us as a full-time mum. And as far as we knew, everything was okay. Until one day, a few years back, my dad said that he was going on a training course over the weekend, which turned out not to be that. So on the Friday morning, he set off, and we were hoping to hear from him maybe in the afternoon that he'd arrived and everything was okay. We never did hear from him, but we got a call from a solicitor late in the afternoon who said that he was actually with Dad, and Dad had been in a court case, and he'd been sentenced to 2 years in prison for fraud.
Wow.
He'd stolen money from his employers, and he was off to prison there and then. So just in that 60-second phone call, we were plunged into this just living hell, really. We didn't know what had happened. We knew nothing about this. And we were really quite devastated for many, many days. And it only came through more conversations and uncovering the bills and everything that we realised, okay, Dad was actually in a massive mess with the bills, with the house. And it eventually came to light that he'd stolen money from his work to pay debts and to deal with gambling. So he had an addiction to online gambling. And he'd been doing that just relentlessly for years and years. And that's what triggered this whole thing. So basically, there we were with no dad in prison, only me earning any money at 21, becoming the head of the household, and then having to stare down the barrel of a gun, really, at this £500,000 worth of debt that was about to engulf the family. So what do? You either run away from it, or you say, right, we're gonna deal with this. And that's what I started to do.
Wow. I'm just like picking my bottom lip off the floor. That is absolutely a crazy, crazy story. But You know, it's the real life that we don't see. You know,
Yeah.
I've just come off a course this weekend on infinite receiving. It was absolutely amazing. But so many people went to that mic and started to, you know, share, like I say, vomit out their stories. And you're literally sitting there thinking, wow, I really haven't been through anything until you hear this kind of story. So you're a 21-year-old child, and also you were diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome at the age of 11, yes?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So that brings around its own challenges
Hmm.
that you have to deal with. So now you suddenly become you're the oldest son, and now you've taken on the role of a father figure. And that £500,000 debt, how did it, in terms of the house, what happened with the house? How did it affect you, where you were living? How did it actually impact you in terms of the safety and security around the house? And how did your mum handle that emotional roller coaster that she just found herself at the top of?
Yeah, I mean, she was broken by it. I mean, at the time they'd been married for 35 good years at that point, you know.
Wow.
She'd been nothing but, I think, good to him, and she felt very betrayed.
Mm.
Um, she was really emotionally shattered by it and just in disbelief. So, you know, there's then me who wants to shoulder that for her, right? You don't want to see your mom going through that and being so upset. So I made it my mission to fix it if it's possible to even do that. But like I said, the house had been remortgaged to pay for his debts. So I had to basically go all the way back through the history to when it was remortgaged, how much are we owing, what are the arrears, how much do we need to pay. So everything basically got renegotiated. We sold off the family car, consolidated some of the debt, put some of it on hold, paid what we could, brought all the priority bills up to date. I mean, I think we basically ran our own debt management company for a few months while we did this. It was a mammoth task involving, you know, us. We worked with like Citizens Advice and other people who could help in that situation. Um, but yeah, it was. I mean, it's still not completely fixed. Obviously, there's still money owing on the mortgage and things like that. But he'd, I say he'd decimated everything, but this is, you know, remember the product of an addiction that happened out of sight.
Mm.
And Dad's not the only one who suffered in silence with a gambling addiction. There's umpteen opportunities to gamble these days, whether it's, you know, on who's going to take the next corner in a football game right through. It's something we unfortunately can't get away from as a society. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd never thought anything about gambling really in my life. I'd seen people do it before. Did I ever think that Dad was in the grip of a gambling addiction? No, never. So, it was a huge shock and really turning things upside down for the family.
Well, you know, Adam, I have to say that I am so proud of you. I am. I'm just in awe. And I'm really, really, yeah, it makes, cause I'm thinking to myself, Adam Bradford, MBE. That's what you should be. Adam Bradford, MBE. So I'm like, how the hell do we get you an MBE? Because, you know, I think one of the things is, because I remember once my aunt, my cousin said to me, she said, if I'm going to say something to you about your son, and if you take it the wrong way, I won't talk to you. But I think he may be right on the end spectrum of Asperger's. And I kind of got what she meant, because sometimes you can say some very matter of fact things that people they don't know how to take it in terms of context. But it also is a gift, because the way in which you see things and the way in which you work things out is very, very different to, inverted commas, what we call normal, or what is normal. There's no such thing as normal when it comes. We're all fearfully and wonderfully made. We're all unique in our own way. But
Yeah, right.
you were also, you know, awarded, rightly so, the Campaigning Communications Agency of the Year award.
Yeah.
And you know, you've taken this mess and it's become your message, right? And
Correct.
this test has become your testimony, and you're able to go out. FedEx is a massive company helping companies, entrepreneurs, and people inside a business, because that's the thing, isn't it? Your dad's got this prestigious position, because we think of accountants, doctors, they're all quite prestigious position.
Of course,
He's looking after somebody else's finances, right, and making sure that their company runs smoothly. But actually, it means he's got access to things. And what he's done is where something has pulled him in, and drawn him in, when he can't see a way out, he's like, well, I've got access here. So actually, maybe this is my way. And it's always like, just the next one, just the next one, just the next one. And then I'll stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, how when you go and deliver these programs, how are you received? What are you finding out there?
I mean, so the work that we do as a consultancy is not necessarily gambling related. Like you said, it's to do with supporting companies to be more entrepreneurial or setting up programs for them. We actually do a lot of work with young people and young entrepreneurs to help them get started all across the world, not just in England. And I have, kind of a second mission to want to bring up other entrepreneurs like myself, because I think there's just so many positive things you can do in the business world with the tools that you've got. So, I mean, in terms of how are we received, there's two parts to my answer. In terms of a business, the stories there, people know what we've been through, what we've done, the kind of people we work with. Generally, always very well received. We work with a small but really high quality number of clients and partners. FedEx being one, like you just mentioned, but in terms of gambling, when we go out and talk about it, in the beginning, there was so much resistance to people saying, well, I've never heard of anybody with a gambling problem. The real problem is just that your dad stole some money. And I said, well, yes, it is. But when somebody's in that situation and the psychology of their mind has been taken over by this addiction, it's a very different situation. You would never say that to an alcoholic or to someone who's been taking drugs or anything, in the other addictive categories. But for some reason, there was always this stigma attached to gambling addiction. And we wanted to break that down. And I think these days you'll see there's a lot more awareness of it. I'm not saying the industry is perfect. No industry is, but things are changing. We've lot of politicians. We've run national campaigns on this issue, and the government are currently reviewing the entire Gambling Act as we speak. And I like to think that these things are a product of when we stood on that platform all those years ago and took the decision to say, hang on a minute, let's bring this addiction under control in this country. We went from, it's like a curve of little awareness, a lot of resistance, to people slowly coming around to the message. So being able to actually talk about this and be taken seriously has taken a long, long time.
And the thing is, my mum has dementia and she's bedbound now. But she used to like putting a bet on the horses. But there's a point when we didn't realise when just the level of the dementia. Like, I've never been in a betting shop. Well, actually, tell a lie. I had to go in there once when my mum went missing. And that day when I went in that betting shop to see if she'd been in, to ask them and come back out, I've never felt so sick, because in my mind, like, I'm never, ever going to a betting shop. But then I did go to Ascot about 6 years ago, and I think I spent £30. And when you go to, that's a massive day out, right? So people do, you have ladies' day, they spend all their money getting their hat, their dress, their shoes, whatever else, right? And then some people spend thousands betting on those horses. But what we've done, like you said, it's gambling, right? But it's so glamorized. Men are in tuxedos and tailcoats, and women are in these amazing outfits. How much money does that one day or that week, and then you've got all the different ones, that go on, how much do they actually make in the interest of you trying to say, I'm going to put my house on that rider getting that horse across the line first, or each way. How much money do people do? That's just one aspect of gambling. There's so many different aspects. But like you said, we don't associate it with as an addiction because we've normalized it and made it a day out or an occasion or an event. So we've turned it into an event, but actually it's gambling, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. There's so many different forms of it, like you said. Betting online, going in the betting shop, casino, the sports days,
the lottery. It's still gambling. People, when it first started, I know we're running out of time, but we're going to wrap this up. The lottery, I remember when it first started, people would go on the lottery and then you see them. They literally, when it was on live, they're literally holding a ticket in their hand and they're hyperventilating.
No, I know. And I think the scratch cards now, there's been studies done that's showing people getting addicted to the scratch cards as well.
Yeah. It's crazy. Look, I know we have to go. I'm really just for me to quickly ask, because I see here that your dad is it was bought by Gibraltar, wasn't it? Compliance consultancy, Crucial Compliance, and your dad is a board member. So what is happening with your dad now? How's the relationship in the family? How are you guys?
Yeah, things are much better now. I mean, obviously we've got over what happened, I think, to a large degree. Obviously we take special care over dad and try to make sure he's always on the right path. And like you said, we've been working with the industry to try and help them make their products safer. You're right. A company in Gibraltar called Crucial Compliance, who work with the industry on these issues, helped us develop a therapy app, which is there to provide a safety net for other people who might find themselves in a position like my dad. And we developed that in conjunction with a series of different therapists and experts. The company decided to buy that offers so they could take it around the industry to reach more people.
Oh my gosh.
And my dad now sits as an advisor to that company, which I think is really a very selfless but a great job for him to now be doing this experience. So we have kind of come full circle on this. And I'm just glad that we could do something positive with it.
And that is what love is, right? Love is a series of actions. Somebody asked me this question the other day, and I said it's a series of actions. It's not just a feeling; it's a series of actions. And when you can do those actions and still love, that's when you know that you are meant to be blessed and that you will be blessed. Nothing will go wrong for you, Adam. I am confessing that over you in Jesus' name. Okay. So I know we have to wrap up, but just tell everyone where they can go to get more information and what your Instagram handle is. And I can start following you, and I'm just going to wish you well. Off you go.
Thank you very much. So the best place to find out about us and what we're up to is our website, which is adambradford.agency. And then if you want to follow me, the Instagram handle is just Adam D. Bradford.
Excellent. Adam, thank you so much. Continue all that good work. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Do you not think that young man is really powerful? I really hope we're able to help him in some way to even raise that platform and that awareness. Like I said, I mean, we've booked to go to Ascot this year. I've not been for this has been my second time in my life. But it's a big day of gambling at the end of the day. Coupled with, we're going on the coach, coupled with food and drink. It's just food, drink and gambling. It's a great day out, in inverted commas. But for someone that's struggling with that habit, male or female, it could cost them. It could cost them their money, their savings, their house, their marriage, their livelihood. So I think it's just to raise that awareness. And, for me, when I think to myself, well, what happens is our intimate, our root chakra, so our sex organs and our reproductive organs, they're the ones that are attacked when something like this comes up. All of a sudden, That's what all the hurt, the disappointment, the shame, it all just locks itself into that area. What kind of intimate health challenges his mum may have experienced, none of us know. But we wouldn't think about those things. But those things do have a major impact. You know, what's happened to her internal world in terms of her breath, her hydration, her food, her mood, her sleep. You know, what you know, the adrenals would have gone into overdrive, the thyroid, you know, the stressors, everything would have just gone into overdrive, and systems in her body would have just been thrown out of whack because the shock would have done that. What I pray, by God's grace, is that she's not still in that situation, not realising, because that can develop into something further down the road that we don't really realise. And that's how we work, and realise that it locks itself in the central nervous system, and the body still responds as if it's going through it, even though the event has long passed. So, once again, Adam, you know, well done, young man. I'm very proud of you. Now, as we're coming towards the end of the show, they've got the last 15 or so minutes. I just want to share a snippet of the 2-hour interview I did with Carol and with Dr. Loretta. And I'm going to chop and change it a little bit, but I want to start with Dr. Loretta's answer about our vibrantly appealing Gina, about our vagina, because it's really important for us to understand this part here and really hear it from a different perspective. This is why I love this woman. And then when it comes to us and understanding our intimate health and our hygiene, this answer here, I really hope will be a powerful answer for women all around the world. We couldn't find the place. It was in this little obscure place. And when we found it, they said, oh, don't worry, we've been talking beforehand. And we were just thinking of all the different names we call it, you know, our vagina. Well, they didn't say vagina, what we call her downstairs. And it was all the worst names you can think of. For me, the worst word on the planet. And every single name, they were like, yeah, we call it this. And they were excited. And I was like, okay. I said, well, I call it vagina. I said, so after 3, we're all going to say it, you know, with this disgust, we're going to say vagina. And I went 1, 2, 3, and they went
vagina.
But they went like that. But they were scared to say it. And I was just like, why are you going to call it a see you next Tuesday and every other nasty word under the sun? Yeah. But when it comes to its real name, so how nice is it if we actually realise that if we take it apart and we can call it Gina, it's queen. We have a queen. That's it. So we're going to talk about our vibrantly appealing queen. Now, I want to start first of all with you, Dr. Loretta. Before we came on, Dr. Loretta was saying she's been sent loads and loads and loads of questions. And I think we should start with the very first question that everyone seems to ask. And that question is, can I wash my vagina? Dr. Loretta.
Thank you very much, Jenny, and thank you, Carol, and for all the work you do for women and men by extension, actually, and for humankind. Yes, I think that's where we should start from. But if I just go back a bit, just a tad, do women actually know what or where their vagina is? Because the problem is because we don't talk, and by the way, well done for that great spoken word. Because we don't talk about these things, they seem to be shrouded in mysteries. You find that there's research showing that about 45 to 50% of women don't even know where the vagina is. So if you don't know where something is, how are you going to wash it or not wash it? So and today is International Women's Day. The formal team is saying that we should ditch it all, which is make everything digital. And if some women are not exposed to the digital platform today, they are not able to log in to us and join us. So, Jenny, I know you are going to stream this on radio later. Well done for thinking about those without the digital skills. So, first of all, where is the vagina? I found that over the years as a gynecologist and obstetrician, when you just ask women, where is your vagina? They point down below. Everything is down below. Your feet are down below. But like Jenny has said, this is the queen between our legs. But there are a lot of things that are also between our legs. You actually
Right.
have the mons pubis, which is that swollen fat pad right in the middle. And then you have the vulva. The vulva comprises of those two lips, the labia majora and minora, and the clitoris in the middle. Thank you, Jenny. That's the diagram. Actually, the vagina is an internal organ. It's a collapsible muscular organ, an internal space that opens out onto your vulva. So the entrance is what you would see, and the whole area around there is the vulva. If the vagina is an internal muscular organ with a potential space that is an average of about 2 to about 6 inches in women, and it is inside there, it means you shouldn't wash it. Because like I was asking Carol before we started, do you wash your heart? Do you wash your lungs? It's an internal organ. It's in there. It has a self-cleansing mechanism, and it's acidic, so it washes itself. I'll come into that later. It's made by nature to wash itself. That is your vagina. Your vagina will house or accommodate the penis. It will accommodate things put inside of it. It will hold sperm, waiting for it to ascend the reproductive organ and go and fertilize an egg. It will act as the pathway for the baby to come out from, for those of us who have children. It is that point that is extending from the neck of the womb, called the cervix, and you move down like a tube, a pathway, tunnel, and it opens out. Listen, it opens out to the outside at the vulva. It is internal. Thank you for showing that, Jenny. It is not outside. Now, should you wash your vulva? Yes. All of that area on the external aspect, they have hair follicles. You sweat a lot around there. It is often covered, especially in cold areas. You wear tights, then you wear trousers, then you wear all sorts of things. And then there's the menstrual flow, there are the discharges. Yes, you should wash that area. What should you use to wash it? It should be unscented, non-perfumed substances. I don't want to mention any substances because we are on air, or any washes, but make sure it is pH sensitive. It is not scented. And this is not the area you get a big hard sponge and start to scrub it. No,
Yes.
It's delicate. It's a queenly surrounding. It is the garden that surrounds the queen in the middle that opens out.
Amen.
So Gina opens out to the gardens, okay? And those gardens are what you should trim and wash. Not Gina. Gina is made self-sufficient. Gina is a queen. Gina, God has made Gina to have its own microbiome, bacteria, self-cleansing, its own smell. I see some women buying perfumes, dolching up, sticking their fingers and all sorts of things into the vagina. To please who? Today is International Women's Day. You come first.
Amen.
What are you scenting? I don't understand the pressure to scent up your vagina. Keep clean, yes. Wash your vulva, but leave your Gina alone. Thank you.
Yes. Well, that's the end of that then, isn't it? Okay. So, what do you make to that? Because that was the end of that then. And I found that to be really, really powerful. And I wanted to cut that snippet in. That was like 10 minutes into the interview. Just to share where the vagina is. Because like I said, I'd read my spoken word, that vibrantly appealing Gina, the most sought after girl I know, the entrance to a gateway that brings love, life and flow. And, that is it. She's this gateway that brings all these things. But actually, it's quite interesting because we just think, wash your vagina, do this bits and pieces. Now, of course, we see it as all-encompassing. But actually understanding the dynamics of what the vagina is and the different parts that make it up is really, really what has just been explained. And I hope that for some women, that will make massive sense. Now, I just want to share a little bit. Excuse me. I just want to share a little bit from Carol as well. And when we talked about, you know, the impact, the emotions, or the impact of certain habits that can be detrimental, how they impact the pelvic floor as well. That is something that we also spoke about, and I'm really hoping that this has made a big difference. Like I said, there are 2 spaces left on the challenge. If you do want to come on board, you know, it's not too late. At least in the first week, it's not too late, and you can get a copy of all the replays. We've done day 1, so this goes out tomorrow, so we'll be on day 2. So you have that opportunity to come on, and that's pelvicsecrets@icloud.com, pelvicsecrets@icloud.com, or you can find me on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter at Pelvic Secrets, and on Facebook, Jenni, Jenni, Juliet, Echo, November, India, Jenni Russell. You can find me there, and on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, we had a great conversation. We decided to be the disruptors. We decided to have a conversation that was different, because really everything comes back to the seat and the foundation. And that was the information that I wanted to share. And I'll be sharing it over the next couple of weeks, because it is still International Women's Month. And this Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday, and we'll be celebrating Mother's Day. But let's think about those women who are struggling in the area of their intimate health, struggling mentally, emotionally, as a result of relational issues they may be having, and the impact it will have on their intimate health, because it will always impact our intimate health. But if this information can help you, it will help you. And those that struggle with alcohol, let's think of something different we can give our mothers on Mother's Day, and not actually enable the habit to make their life not as pleasant as it could be. But we don't realise that for years and years and years, it has a major impact on here. So Carol, our alcohol-free accountability coach, has been alcohol-free now for how many years?
2019.
Fantastic.
Over three and a half years. Yeah.
Excellent. Absolutely fantastic. And so you're here. One of the things we're looking at is actually, you know, the impact that alcohol has on Gina and this area here. So Carol, over to you.
Yeah. Well, emotions. Yeah. Especially with our partners, if we're married or not, or just cohabiting. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. I was on my podcast yesterday actually interviewing a relationship coach. It was really interesting, talking about communication and how we don't talk. Now, from my personal experience, my first marriage ended after about 16 years. When kids came along, there's a lot of pressure in a partnership and on a marriage when you're working and you've got the house and everything, you know, to deal with. And I picked up my glass of wine. That was my get out clause, really. That was my evening chill and relax. And I think if we're emotionally unbalanced and not in a good relationship, which I wasn't with my first husband, then we can turn to things, as you said, Jenni, you turn to gin. Yeah, mother's ruin, my mum always called it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just, after I had the kids, I just turned to my wine in the evenings. I'd read the kids a story, come downstairs, and it was my chill time. But that was really to push down all my emotions of the unhappiness that surrounded me and the position I was in that I didn't want to be in. And I think as women, we can turn to alcohol or, in fact, even sugar, you know, and then we have the counter effects of that. I mean, I don't know if we're going to discuss the menopause or not, but it has a massive effect. Massive effect. We'll go into that later then. But yeah, I think emotionally, it just numbs. You get that buzz and it just numbs out those emotions, doesn't it? But if you don't deal with them, they're still going to be there the following day, aren't they? And it's just like, and our reproductive organs, the alcohol actually numbs that area too. So we're unable to climax often. And it, a vaginal dryness, and it impacts, you know, all sorts of, it has a big impact on our downstairs.
Yeah, down there.
Some people
Where
like
the
to
feet
call
are.
it down there where your feet are. Yeah. So yeah, we use alcohol definitely to self-medicate quite often, and sometimes for sex, you know. Sometimes if you're not really in that loving relationship, sometimes women, you know, have a few wines just to loosen up for the bedroom, and it can be a complete disaster because that's your loving personal time. That's where your bonds are. That's where you grow together as a couple and that intimacy. And if you are half cut through half a bottle or a bottle of wine, for one, you don't remember it. For two, you can't you can't often climax, and you can't remember the following day anyway. So, you know, wine has a massive impact on us. Yeah.
And you mentioned about being loose. Well, when you're actually in that loving relationship, the last thing you want to be as a female is loose. You want to be able to be able to grip and massage. And if you can't do that, if you don't have those inhibitions are gone, you've lost that muscular strength and response, that sensory connection, it's gone. So how can you really have a great time? You know, we are, you know, like I said, vibrantly appealing Gina. She's the most sought after girl I know. But it's not meant to be for us to be pleasure for them. The pleasure is supposed to be a joint experience. It's meant to be a joint experience. And so what we don't realize is that a lot of those negative emotions have a negative impact on the muscles of the pelvic floor. They have a negative impact. And so then Gina now becomes something that doesn't work the way in which you want it to, not just in intimacy, but actually in its everyday role of support, of pelvic and spinal stability, of posture, of body shape, or, you know, of movement. And we don't recognize these things, and we don't have this conversation. And, you know, I've been doing this for years and years, right? As a holistic healthcare coach for over 25 years. Dr. Loretta, you've got so many letters after your name. It's amazing. You've got your master's, you've got your PhD, you've got so much, you know, the clinical education. And honestly, I feel so blessed to have found you, to have grabbed you and have claimed you as my resident gynecologist.
It's mutual.
That's great. But, you know, I've got no more time left. I just really hope that this week has been a powerful week for you. Happy Mother's Day. At Pelvic Secrets, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Jenni Russell, LinkedIn, Facebook, 0207 291 4499 if you want to call me, or pelvicsecrets@icloud.com. But until next week, in pelvic floor health and happiness, stay blessed.